Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. This time around I've got another haul for you. It's mostly cheap stuff that I've picked up from op shops and other places like that, thrift stores if you're not Australian. And I think I've done a pretty good haul this time. There's a few things I bought, but mostly it's been stuff that I've scrounged secondhand from various places. There's a whole horde of people doing this now. And so finding the good stuff is a little difficult. So the quality is going to be mixed, but there's going to be a few hidden gems in here. So I better get started. I'll start out with one that was recommended to me by about 3 or 4 people online. So it's Rachel Weisz, and it's a movie about the Library of Alexandria. And it's about a female astronomer who works there at the time of the burning of the Library of Alexandria. It's a movie called Agora, which also has Oscar Isaac and Max Minghella and Rupert Evans in it. I hear really good things about this, and it's set in the 4th century AD. I hear so many good things about this, and so many people who've seen it have recommended it to me. And getting a copy for $3 was a good deal for me. I actually went to the other side of town. We were over there to visit my in-laws, and I found out that there were some op shops in a large shopping complex there called Knox, which I don't recommend you go to because, like all large shopping complexes in Melbourne, it's a nightmare labyrinth of crazy people who have no situational awareness of other people. Lots of shops that you don't quite understand what they sell, and a geography that defies any understanding. But I went and got that, happy with that. It's $3, you're going to take a chance on a movie that's been recommended to you by other people. And Agora is one that I'm going to put near the top of my list and enjoy. Next up, we've got one of the good, ethical, white hat hacker movies. One of them is, of course, is Hackers, which is very much a big thing in the 90s and everybody loved it. But there was another one which I kind of like, and it's got a killer cast in it. Sneakers, with Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd's in there as well, Sidney Poitier, Mary McDonald, David Strathairn, River Phoenix. I like Sneakers, and I think it's a perfect movie to have in a double feature with Hackers. A lot of fun. You got the bad guy played by Ben Kingsley, who's the sort of tech billionaire who would do a totally ludicrous and money-losing thing like, I don't know, buying Twitter and changing his name to X, that kind of guy. Good movie. You should check that one out. I'm dropping them on the floor when I'm finished because otherwise the piles of them get totally unruly. Coffee break. Next up, we've got a Cantonese version of Shane. The classic movie with Alan Ladd and Van Heflin, directed by George Stevens. Really good Western. Small scale, but Jesus good. And Alan Ladd was never better than in Shane. I went to the shop, this was $1, and I looked up the database and found out I didn't have a copy of it, which surprised me. But now I do, and I'm happy to have that. I've got such a fondness for classic Westerns because I grew up at that time when Westerns were the premium genre for cinema, and they were being made in enormous numbers. Every time you go to a daytime matinee movies, there'd be a Western, likely as not. So I'm geared for Westerns, and the quality on these ones is usually pretty good. So I'm glad I've got that and glad I'm going to enjoy it. Next up, I've got a remake made by pretty much the same guy who made the first one. Musical version of the producers. I know I've got the original producers, but I don't have this one. This one's got Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane and Uma Thurman and Will Ferrell, based on a stage play which was written by Mel Brooks. It's got some of the same songs as the original version, but I had the original and I thought, for $2, I'm going to take a punt on the second one. I've seen it before. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, why the hell not? You can never have too many musicals in your collection. I'll keep the Blu-rays till after I do the DVDs. About 10 or 15 years ago, there were a lot of this kind of collection put out in Australia. 5 movie collections. And the problem I've got is they're all turning up in second-hand stores. Chances are, out of the 5, there'll usually be 2 movies I already have in some format, 2 I want, and 1 I just don't care about. And that's pretty much the case in this one. 5 movie collection. You've got Behind Enemy Lines, which is the one I don't care about. The Delta Force, which is the one I wanted, with Lee Marvin acting his way around Chuck Norris. Flight of the Phoenix, the remake with Dennis Quaid. Broken Arrow, which is the wonderful John Woo movie with Travolta and Christian Slater. And Volcano, which I've got a weird fondness for. So all of those ones I picked up for, if I still got it was $6 for 5 movies, so I'm not really going to knock that. Second-hand stores are starting to get a bit wiser with these collections, and they're upping the price if there is more than one movie in them. But still, $6 isn't very much at all. And I really wanted Delta Force, and I really wanted Broken Arrow. So I've got the 5-movie collection. I'll put it over where I've got the collections, and I will watch the Delta Force at some stage quite soon. I've also got an enormous fondness for movies that flub. The movies that fail enormously. This one was directed by the star's husband back in the 60s, and it was supposed to be the big breakthrough role to change the actress's persona on screen to something a little more grown-up. It was directed by Blake Edwards, starring Julie Andrews and Rock Hudson. Darling Lily. Now, this one is one of those movies which is such a wonderful failure that I wanted to have it in the collection. And what did I pay for it? I think I paid about $1 for this. The weird thing, it was written by Blake Edwards in collaboration with William Peter Blatty, who wrote The Exorcist. So you've got a Julie Andrews movie co-written by the guy who wrote The Exorcist. Movie making is an odd business. I really wanted to watch this. I did the careful thing. I found out this is in the correct 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio, because there were a couple of movies over the last couple of days where I go, oh, I want that movie. And then I take a look at it and it's in the old-fashioned television-friendly aspect ratio, which cheeses me off. But this one is in the right aspect ratio. It's a little bit rare, but I probably will watch that when I'm in the mood for something gloriously bad. This one, again, I wanted one of the 2 movies. Both of them star Denzel Washington. It's a 2-movie collection. Got a few of these. The movie I wanted is Devil in a Blue Dress, and I got it with The Bone Collector. Devil in a Blue Dress is a really good Denzel Washington movie about a guy called Easy Rawlins who ends up running an unofficial private eye agency in the black community in the 1940s and 1950s. It's based on a series of novels by Walter Mosley, which are fantastic. It's also got Don Cheadle in it, Jennifer Beals. Really good mystery too. Directed by Carl Franklin, I believe. Yep, directed by Carl Franklin. The Bone Collector I like less. It's still a kind of okay. But Devil in a Blue Dress is a really good Denzel Washington movie and a really good crime movie. And so I'm happy to have that in my collection. Another double feature. This movie in America was called Airplane, but in Australia it was called Flying High. And I got a 2-pack of both of the Flying High movies as they are in Australia. And these ones are in the correct aspect ratio. Finding a copy of Flying High isn't that difficult in Australia, but finding Flying High 2 is quite difficult. So I've got both of them in there, and it cost me $5 for the 2 of them. The other trick is, when you get these multiple movie packs, just open them up and make sure both movies are in there. Because I got bitten a couple of times lately. I got a double pack of Audie Murphy Westerns a while back, and only one of the discs was in there. And I wasn't going back across town to tell them that, because they probably didn't have the disc anyway. So just be aware of that. If you pick it up secondhand, check inside the box and make sure that both movies are there. Classic comedy, Zucker Abram Zucker. You gotta love that. By the way, if there's noise in the background, it's because the heating vent is just up here. This one surprised me. I picked it up today for $1 in my local op shop, which is just near my gymnasium. And in spite of appearances, I do occasionally go to the gym. A couple of movies by Peter Watson in a French edition. The War Game and Culloden in a double single disc. But still, both of these movies, finding these on any kind of physical medium in a second-hand shop is a good haul. And by the way, the colour keeps fading out here as I hold discs up in front of my face and the camera adjusts. So I apologise for that. So we've got The War Game and we've got Culloden, which is the story of the Battle of Culloden. They've got French subtitles, but the movie is in English, so there's no problem with that. But finding that in an op shop, particularly in my part of town, is a hell of a haul. And finding it anywhere is going to cost you a premium. And I got it for $1. That makes me a little bit happy today. Peter Watkins, Culloden and The War Game. Very, very happy. This Disney movie I got because it's one of the least offensive of the Disney animated movies. And it's kind of rare because Disney on physical media is getting a premium these days, even in this kind of edition. And does they get the aspect ratio right? Yes, they did. And again, this one was $1. It's from the 1960s. It's also got a cartoon short on the back, a featurette, and sing-along for songs in there, which I'm going to ignore. Sword in the Stone. Story of King Arthur and Merlin and all that kind of stuff. I remember seeing this in the 60s and I kind of liked it. And I'm not particularly a collector of Disney stuff, but where I can get it for $1 and where it's something that's a little bit unusual and isn't the usual sexist crap you get with stuff like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, I will go with it. So yeah, I picked up that. I'm going to watch it. Might be a bit of fun. I might even get a bit of a video out of it. Who knows? Now, these are the last two of the DVDs before I hit the Blu-rays. Didn't have a copy of this, and I'm surprised because it's really good. Viggo Mortensen, Maria Bello, William Hurt, Ed Harris in David Cronenberg's A History of Violence, which I have seen once. I think I actually rented it, which shows you how long ago I've seen it. But I wanted a copy of it, and I wanted to rewatch it because that era of Cronenberg, just after the turn of the century, where he was doing movies like A History of Violence and Spider with Ralph Fiennes, Cronenberg steering away from the body horror stuff that people knew him for and showing that he can make a good drama movie on his own terms. So I wanted that as part of the collection, and I'm glad I've got it. It's got a couple of extras in it. It's in the right aspect ratio, which I am checking obsessively these days. Might as well have that on DVD. If the chance came to upgrade to a Blu-ray, I'm not sure I would bother because it's not a movie I love enough to spend extra money to get it. If it turns up in a second-hand store in a Blu-ray, I may upgrade, but otherwise I'm quite happy with having a DVD copy of it. This one's TV. New Zealand TV, in fact. New Zealand TV made by Americans. The first season of Flight of the Conchords, which I love, and I haven't watched in a long time. $2. So you might as well pick up stuff like that. There's a tiny bit of room in the television section of the library here. So I've got room to put the Flight of the Conchords in there. I don't know whether it's dated because it is from 10 or 15 years ago. But got it and I'll watch it. Last one of the DVDs. A double pack, and there are 2 discs on it, and they are in the correct aspect ratio. Couple of Australian comedies starring a guy called Mick Malloy, which nobody outside Australia knows about. Now, the comedies from about 20 years ago. Crackerjack and Bad Eggs. The bottom one's a crime one. The top one's about a guy who helps his local lawn bowls club because he wants to keep the parking space he's got there because it's near work. Played by Mick Malloy. Bit of a slacker kind of comedy. They both are in a way. Let me see who directed them. Tony Martin directed the second one. Tony Martin's a very good comedian working in Australia who is from New Zealand but has done his work here. And the other one was directed by Paul Maloney. Good Australian comedies, not quite exploitation, but still a bit of fun. Got them for a couple of bucks down at Savers. I got a discount because I donated some stuff I had to them. And if you go to Savers, which is one of the thrift stores around here, and you donate, they give you a 20% off voucher, which always means I'm going to spend more money. But Crackerjack and Bad Eggs, I'm glad I've got those. I remember them being fun. Haven't watched them in a while, so pick those up because you can never have too many comedies in your life. Now we're to the Blu-rays. This one I got given by good friend of the channel, Damien McGee, which surprised me because I didn't know it existed. It's called Bodyguard Kiba 1 and 2. So I'll give you the slipcover first. There's the slipcover. It's an English pressing, by the way. There's the back. 1970s action starring Sonny Chiba, which you've got to love. If you've seen the Street Fighter movies, which are just here, by the way. That's the lovely thing about being in the library here. I've got the Street Fighter movies already. And now I've got the Bodyguard movies with Sonny Chiba in them. So thank you very, very much, Damien. You know my taste, mate, and occasionally Damien gives me things that inevitably delight me. Put that back. But I haven't watched these yet, but they are on the top of the list because I think I'm going to be in the mood soon for some 1970s Japanese action films because I don't think I know of a bad 1970s Japanese action film. And Sonny Chiba is the man. This one I got because I had the first one. I picked up the first one a month or two ago in an op shop, and I had my eyes open for the second one. It's G.I. Joe Retaliation. I've got the first one, and I thought I'd get the second one. This is the 3D version, apparently, but 3D discs just play as normal in a normal Blu-ray player. 3D was a fad for a while, but a lot of 3D movies are now turning up in op shops and second-hand shops because very few people these days have 3D Blu-ray players and 3D televisions. Some people do, but it was a fad that really didn't add enough to the movie for it to be in any way viable as a long-term format. There's actually 3 discs in here. There's a DVD, the movie on Blu-ray, and there's the 3D Blu-ray. I'll check that one out because occasionally I want meathead action movies, and this fulfills that. It's got The Rock in it. It's got Bruce Willis. Ray Stevenson's in there, Channing Tatum, Adrian Palicki. Good cast. I've got the first one of these on Blu-ray, so when the second one popped up for, I think, $2 at Savers. Got the second of the Percy Jackson movies. I know there's a new series going over the same stories, which is on one of the streaming services, but I kind of like this duology of movies about the children of Greek gods who are living on Earth and who get into adventures and things like that. Stars Logan Lerman, directed by, who directed this one? Thor Freudenthal, who I've never heard of. But they're kind of fun, and they usually have good guest actors. Got Stanley Tucci in this one. I don't think they have Pierce Brosnan playing a centaur anymore. They got the Tucci instead. Bit of fun. Going to enjoy those. This one's a movie about whales with Chris Hemsworth, directed by Ron Howard. Again, it's a 3D movie. These are showing up a lot. In the heart of the sea. And I remember it being kind of adventure-y and about a whaler and about a whale and that kind of thing. And I wanted to check it out. Again, a couple of bucks. Bit of Hemsworth that I haven't seen. Ron Howard's a director that a lot of people like. But I think in the same way that Ridley Scott is. He's a very kind of undistinguished director in the sense that he doesn't have a directorial style and an auteur style. And so you can watch a movie and not know it's Ron Howard, just like you can watch some of the lesser Ridley Scott films without ever realising it's Ridley Scott. But I will check that one out. I did pay full whack for this one because for some reason I didn't have it in the collection, but I should have. Now, I've talked about it recently on the channel. Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville. Got a cheap Blu-ray of it, new, on eBay. Cheaper than I could get it from any of the usual retail shops. And I wanted to rewatch it now. Came back into the man cave after I did the video about it and found out that it's not on the shelves for some reason. I thought I had a copy, but I didn't. So I paid, I think, $15 with postage on eBay and got myself a copy of Alphaville, which I will rewatch soon because it's one of those great classic 1960 science fiction movies. Not everybody likes it, but I don't care. This Aaron Aronofsky film is interesting. It tells a biblical story. Noah with Rusty Crowe. This one's interesting because it sticks strictly to the way that the Noah story is told in the Old Testament. And it's got some really weird things. Ray Winston's in it, Jennifer Connelly, Emma Watson. This one, if you take it as sword and sorcery kind of movie or a fantasy action film, you'll get more out of it than if you go Bible or Christian out of it. I think it plays interestingly as a fantasy film, and I'm there for that. I've seen it once and I want to see it again, but I'm not buying into the theology of it. I'm just going to enjoy it as a fantasy film. Good special effects, interesting little angles on things. You might want to check that out because it is a bit of a hidden gem. Next victim. I did have a DVD of this, but I upgraded to Blu-ray because it's a movie I love. From 1936, directed by Frank Capra, Lost Horizon. JB Hi-Fi had this for really cheap on their website on Blu-ray, and I thought I'd do the upgrade. There are no more extras on it than there were on the DVD copy. I like this film a lot, and I like utopian movies anyway. I did do the upgrade, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to rewatch it soon. This should be in your collection. Actually, I found another DVD, directed by Matthew Vaughn, based on a Neil Gaiman story. This is a cool action film that kind of gets forgotten. It's a fantasy. It's got some really good actors in it. Stardust, which stars Claire Danes, Charlie Cox, Sienna Miller, Ricky Gervais is in it, but don't let that stop you. Jason Fleming, Rupert Everett, Peter O'Toole, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Robert De Niro playing an LGBTQIA plus pirate. I like this one. It's got a lot of fun to it. Nice special effects, interesting characters, swashbuckling heroes, and it's even got Henry Cavill in a fairly small role. Might want to check that one out if you haven't. Originally cost $19.95, but I got it for $1 because that's the way things work. You might want to check out Stardust if you haven't. It's a recommend from me. A lot of fun. De Niro in a dress. What more can you ask for? This one I kind of remember being a dumb action film when it came out. It was filmed in Australia because it was cheap to film things in Australia, and actually still is. It's a Rob Cohen movie with Josh Lucas, Jessica Biel, Jamie Foxx, Sam Shepard, Joe Morton, and Richard Roxburgh, because you've got to have a token Australian actor in there. Top Gun meets Terminator. Stealth. Remember it being meathead action film. Might double it up with the G.I. Joe movie to watch. There are a lot of these in op shops at the moment, particularly the DVD copy of it. But this Blu-ray was there, so I thought I'd pick it up. I don't know whether I'll keep it after I watch it, because it's not a movie I treasure enough to keep in the library, but I'll watch it at least and get my value from that. We're down to the last three, and these are pretty good. Now, this one I know it's a Sam Mendes movie, and I don't know anything about it. I think it may be about cinema, but I'm not sure. Stars Olivia Colman, Michael Ward, Tim Brooke, Toby Jones is in there as well, Colin Firth. Empire of Light. I got this for $1 at the op shop. It was kind of unusual to see a movie of this quality going for $1 at an op shop. But I like Sam Mendes' work. I like Olivia Colman a lot as an actress. So I will check that one out. Don't know whether it's good or not, but it's more inclined to be giving a Sam Mendes. And I will watch that one. And I'll probably keep it as well. I'm a bit surprised it turned up in our local op shops, because it's not the sort of movie you normally get around this part of town. Last two I got from England. This one's a bit odd because it's a James Mason movie I don't know anything about. It also stars Geraldine Chaplin and Bobby Darin. A movie called Stranger in the House from the 1960s. It's a drama, straight up drama. It seemed like an odd cast to have James Mason and Bobby Darin in the same movie. Now this is a BFI one, so you do get, he said, unfolding the folded down corner of the booklet. You get a booklet, and you get the disc itself. I'm going to watch that one and just see whether it is a hidden gem or just has been released for the sake of releasing it, though given that it's a BFI movie, I'm more inclined to think that it's something that is a hidden gem that people just don't know about because it didn't get any lift from anybody. But directed by Pierre Rouvet, I will check that one out, and I'm a little curious to see whether it's worth it or not. Last one I've got is actually two films, Fooled Ya. Again released by BFI. I'll take the slip cover off because it's got the same thing as the inside cover. It's a director I've learned to treasure over the last few years, because one of my favourite movies is Tokyo Story by Yasujiro Ozu. And here are two films he made a long time before he made Tokyo Story. They are I Was Born But from 1932. It may even be a silent film, Japanese movie about a couple of kids really. And the second one is There Was a Father from 1942, so it was made during World War II. So I'm intensely curious to see what kind of movies Ozu made in 1932 and 1942. Like all of his other work, they're very personal, family kind of films. They're about relationships between people. But I'm just so looking forward to these. They're on one disc, and there's a booklet, of course. But Ozu is just somebody I so respect as a creative person. And he has a magic to the way he tells stories about ordinary people that I really wanted to spend a few bucks on this one. I'm very glad I did. It's not all the time that I go to quality cinema. I am a gutter snipe at heart, and I don't always watch the best movies. I watch the movies that suit my gutter snipe nature. Occasionally I dive into good stuff. I'm looking forward to this one a lot, and just holding it in my hand, I'm looking forward to it even more than I did before I picked it up. So that is the pile that I've got. Didn't spend a lot of money on most of them, spent a little money on some of them, and there do seem to be quite a wide range of films there. At the budget end of things, it's a good time to be a collector of physical media, because if you look around and you do have the time and the pocket change to hunt around and just see what's available, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of very prosaic movies in the lots of movies that I hunt through to find something that I'm actually going to watch. And there are times when I walk out of a shop without buying anything because there's nothing good in there. It's just the way it goes. If you're hunting for truffles in the forest, occasionally you're going to dig up dog shit. But occasionally you do get truffles. And it's a bit of fun to do that. It's actually quite relaxing. You get a few steps in. You go to places you wouldn't ordinarily go while you're on the hunt. And so if you do have the time, the resources to do that, it is a lot of fun and I recommend you do. So that's it for this time around. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when things are on. Check out some of the playlists of other movies that I've talked about. You can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or else by becoming a patron at patreon.com/terrytalksmovies. And then you get my monthly Spotify playlist of weird music I've found. A lot of it's movie related, some of it isn't. Quite happy with that haul. There's some interesting things there, and there are some things that I wasn't expecting, which is the nice thing, serendipitous discovery when you go out hunting for movies as part of the joy. Until next time, when I'm doing Science Fiction Saturday, and I've got a weird cross-genre TV series that's just landed, and a couple of other things science fictional, and that's going to be on the Saturday video. So until then, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Pick up some $1 movies and just take a chance. You're probably going to be rewarded. And I'll catch you next time.